it's like when you hear all these things, and of course this is their side of the story, but when you hear these things, it's just like, dude, like why was this man so possessive, so demonic, so just, I don't know, like, you got that much money, you're on the top of the world, and you really think that you're invincible. I mean, people can be rich and do a gang of positive things for people, you know? I ain't saying he ain't never helped anybody out, but a lot of times when they do that, it's to mask all the craziness that they do. But I'm just saying, think about someone in his position just doing good and great things for people, man. But you have this, you know, doing all the freaky stuff, all the, like, that's not the issue with him having that type of life. It's just when all the illegalness comes in, you know? And I think that's what people are getting confused on. They think like the domestic stuff and the other stuff don't go hand in hand. It does. Even though he's not being charged with, it goes hand in hand. And like I said, if you're on the jury, you I don't know how you can look past that. It's the control factor. So he was using intimidation to get what he wants.
The defense believed they had found a strategy that could undercut the emotional weight of Cassie Ventura's testimony by presenting affectionate messages she had sent to Diddy after their breakup. At first glance, it seemed like a compelling move. Use Cassie's own words to cast doubt on her harrowing claims of abuse. These messages, which reportedly carried a lighthearted and sometimes warm tone, were offered as evidence that Cassie's behavior did not align with someone who had suffered the type of trauma she described on the stand. The defense urged the jury to ask themselves, would a woman who endured years of coercion and violence really send friendly texts to her abuser? But once the messages were introduced, the strategy began to falter. The courtroom grew tense, and the defense's move quickly appeared more awkward than impactful. Rather than dismantling Cassie's narrative, it revealed the defense's reliance on a tactic many viewed as tone-deaf. The prosecution wasted no time challenging the interpretation of these messages, arguing that trauma is rarely linear and that survivors often behave in ways that don't fit a tidy, expected script. They emphasized that such communication can be part of a coping mechanism, an attempt to maintain safety and control while processing years of manipulation. Cassie herself addressed the texts directly when she returned to the stand. With striking composure, she acknowledged sending them but explained their deeper context. Far from contradicting her allegations, she said the messages reflected a survival instinct. Keeping communication warm and non-threatening, even after the relationship ended, felt necessary given the power imbalance and her fear of possible retaliation. What looked like lingering affection was actually self-preservation. She made it clear the years of psychological control she endured didn't disappear the moment she walked away. The prosecution accused the defense of cherry-picking these texts to craft a misleading narrative, one that deliberately ignored the complexities of abusive relationships. Many courtroom observers and members of the public agreed. While some questioned Cassie's decision to stay in touch with Diddy after such serious allegations, others recognized this as a common pattern in abusive dynamics. Survivors often struggle to completely cut ties with their abusers, especially when the relationship has deep emotional or psychological roots. Public reaction was split, but Cassie's explanation ultimately strengthened her credibility. Instead of being shaken by the defense's move, she used it to further illuminate the reality of life under control and coercion. Her testimony reframed the messages, turning them from supposed contradictions into powerful evidence of the psychological toll abuse can take. This flip of the narrative left the courtroom visibly stirred. Even Diddy, who had appeared confident during the defense's presentation of the texts, showed signs of discomfort as Cassie's words cut through the facade. By the time she finished this portion of her testimony, the dynamic in the courtroom had shifted once again. Cassie had not only neutralized what could have been a damaging blow, she had turned it into a moment of empowerment. Her willingness to confront the messages head-on and provide context with such clarity left jurors and observers alike anticipating what revelations might come next.
That if there was a time when you were getting beat up in a room and couldn't walk out, you would reimagine it in a way that you were actually able to leave the room. Do you see this potentially backfiring on the defense?
Oh, Brianna, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, you are exactly right. The defense needs to be really careful what they're doing here because she is a victim. She is a victim. She has put herself out there and saying that she survived these horrific instances of rape, of other assaultive behaviors, some of which we've seen evidence of on that videotape that CNN exclusively obtained and then broadcast. And thank goodness for that. And so with the defense trying to go down this road, trying to attack her therapy, the government's going to get right back up there and say, well, the only reason she needed to go to therapy and seek EMDR and the other types of therapy was because of the actions of your client, Combs' attorney team. So they're going to go right back at it and say that had she not been so brutally traumatized, she wouldn't have had to seek therapy. And that's a good thing. And certainly anybody on that jury who's ever been to therapy or knows anything about it, they're going to be thinking about how Cassie Ventura could be being traumatized right now, again, in having to relive all of the various questioning for days from both sides. So you're right, Brianna. This is a slippery slope that the defense team is on right now with her.
From the moment Cassie took the stand, all eyes weren't just on her, they were on Diddy. His reactions in court became a spectacle of their own, revealing cracks in the polished, composed image he has long projected. As Cassie's allegations piled up, the tension in the courtroom grew increasingly palpable. Diddy, known for his confidence and control, began to show signs of visible discomfort early in her testimony. By the time she described the alleged freak-off parties, private gatherings where she claimed she was coerced into non-consensual acts, his struggle to maintain composure was undeniable. Cassie's testimony was unflinchingly specific. She didn't speak in generalities, but gave detailed, chilling accounts of manipulation and control, naming incidents that stunned the courtroom into silence. During her recounting of these parties, observers noted Diddy's shifting posture, the unease in his movements, and expressions that ranged from clenched restraint to flashes of anger. He no longer appeared in control. His frustration and agitation were there for all to see. The impact of her words only intensified when the prosecution introduced surveillance footage linked to a 2016 assault, which Cassie had described earlier. As the video played, Diddy leaned back, exhaled sharply, and turned his eyes away from the screen. For someone who has spent decades shaping a public image of dominance and charm, this was a rare, almost jarring moment of vulnerability. Legal analysts pointed out how his demeanor might influence the jury. Where calmness might project confidence or innocence, his reactive body language, particularly during the most damning parts of Cassie's testimony, risked suggesting guilt, defensiveness, or a lack of control. And while Diddy's discomfort was evident, the entire courtroom felt the weight of Cassie's words. Audible murmurs rippled through the gallery as she described feeling trapped, degraded, and powerless, especially during the so-called freak-off events. Her testimony didn't just target one man, it began to expose a much broader issue. This case has become more than a legal battle. It's evolving into a cultural reckoning. Cassie's claims of coercion, violence, and psychological abuse challenge not only Diddy's reputation, but the entertainment industry's long history of protecting powerful figures at the expense of the vulnerable. Her voice represents more than a personal account. It echoes the silenced experiences of countless others. With each allegation, she forces us to reconsider the systems that enable abuse and ask how many more voices remain unheard. The message is clear. The era of sweeping abuse under the rug is coming to an end. If this trial does anything, it may redraw the boundaries of accountability and redefine what we demand from those in power. Stay informed, stay vocal, and remember, silence enables abuse.